Okay, this book, Letters from a Stoic, is a new favorite of mine. And I'm not one that's super into philosophy. Like, I think philosophy is very interesting. I think it's insightful at times, but I think it lacks a certain depth in terms of religion, in terms of the spirit, in terms of the soul. It's usually too much on the logic and the material and the things that you can see, but I think there's more to life than that. But I think this book has a great balance of it because it's not just like a guy professing his ideology, it's a guy coming to terms with his old age and understanding the implications of him growing older, and now that he is older he can appreciate the things more and more. And it's an awesome thing to really read and really understand, because what stoicism is applying logic into your life. It's applying logic to every scenario and really flipping your life on its head and only viewing it as experiences, not viewing it in terms of good or bad, just as life. And life is inherently beautiful, life is inherently great, and the point of life is not to be happy or sad. The point of life is to live. The point of life is to experience everything, to learn lessons, to grow old and grow with wisdom. And it's really interesting to read Letters from Stoic, because I've read discourses, I've read meditations. Those are like the most famous and most popular Stoicism books, but for whatever reason I like this one the best. I truly think Seneca puts Stoicism in the best light, and I think he applies it in the best way. And it's pretty frustrating to me that I had such a messed up view of Stoicism, that I thought it was so focused on the material, that I thought it was so limited. But it's really great to see. It's really cool, and I'm glad that I got to read this book. And the interesting part about Seneca was that he led a very interesting life. He very much went out the same way as Socrates. He was implicated in a plot to take out the emperor, and he really wasn't guilty in this plot, but because he was implicated, he was basically forced to drink poison. He was forced to, take his own life. And it's really sad to see, but at the same time, he was faced with a decision that, you know what, I could either die and be sad and be upset and grovel and try to ask for mercy or do these things or ask for exile. But he was like, you know what, I've lived a great life, and I'm ready. Like, at each and every point you are faced with the possibility of death. At each and every second you could just stop breathing, and we need to be okay with the time that we go out. Like, most people are afraid of death, and even as young people they're afraid of death. And the more fear you have in your life, the less you can live, the less you will be free, and the less you will allow yourself to do certain things. And it's just coming to terms with that one day you will die, and you need to make the most of every circumstance. You need to make the most of every experience. And when it's all said and done, if you make the most of every single second you had, that's a life well lived. But so many people are so afraid of death that they lock themselves in their houses. Look at the people, from the pandemic who are still wearing masks in their car alone. Like, these are people that are afraid, and these are people that are not experiencing life because of their own minds, because of the way they're viewing things, because they're so afraid of something invisible coming out to get them, that they're so afraid of their own mortality that they are not willing to live. And that's truly death in essence of the spirit, not in essence of the material. But like, if you're so afraid to live that you're going to lock yourself away, you've already died. And it's really interesting to view these aspects of life and view the way that Seneca really looked at things, because it's not like structured like a book. It's a bunch of letters from Seneca, and each individual letter holds one shred of wisdom, one way of looking at things. The one I was looking at today, let's see what it was. It was basically talking about how most people base their self-worth off of the riches they have, the indulgences that they have. But these are people that are inherently going to be shallow and empty, because when you seek out riches, when you seek out desires, when you seek out goods, that they will never suffice for that need and that urge. Because when we're seeking for something external, that means that really something in the internal is not being addressed. Something on the internal is not being fulfilled, and you can never fulfill that internal need with external things. And I really love Stoicism. I really love Seneca. It's changed my mind on the philosophy. It's changed my mind on the perspective. And I'm really happy I read this book, because it's not that I had a wrong interpretation of Stoicism. I thought it was more focused on just the material. I thought it was focused on the aspects that we can view, but it really hits home at a deeper level. It really hits home at almost a spiritual level. And I really enjoyed Seneca's interpretation of the philosophy. And I also really found it interesting how Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, basically Cicero as well, basically every Roman and Greek philosopher, thinker, any sort of person that we remember today has always mentioned Socrates, has always mentioned the way Socrates went out, has always mentioned that the way Socrates lived and died is the true essence of life. And it's really interesting to see these motifs and see that, we see mentions of these people everywhere, and maybe we should look to them for guidance. Maybe we should understand that, like, your beliefs are more than your material substance, than your material body. And we need to be willing to die for our beliefs, because our beliefs mean more than anything else that the material world can provide, that we can see, that we can hold on to. And ideas are so powerful that if you stick by them, if you're convicted with them, if you are willing to die for them, like, that's immortality. That is why Socrates is remembered to this day. It's not for his belief systems, not for his philosophy. Nobody even knows really what he taught, because we only have secondhand knowledge of him. Socrates never wrote a single book. We can understand what his students said about him, but we can't understand his actual belief, because it was never recorded. It was never written down. But we remember him because he died for something greater than himself. And it's really interesting to see, and it's really interesting to flip these perspectives, because I feel like we live in a day and age where most people would, sell their souls to get any sort of fame. They would rat out their mother for, a little bit of money. And it's really awesome to see that we've had people throughout history who have sacrificed for their beliefs. And, it's awesome. It's really cool. And you could tell that Seneca was very much inspired by the way Socrates went out, by the way he went out. And yeah, I overall think you should pick up this book. Pick this book up before meditations. Pick this book up before discourses. If you want to learn about Stoicism, this is the book to read about. This is the book that exemplifies exactly what Stoicism is. It's rationalizing your life, applying logic to your life to flip it into a neutral state, to flip it into a state where you can be present, where you can be aware, where you can understand each and everything happening to you, and you can just look at it and have no qualms about it. You're not upset, you're not angry, you're not overly zealous, you're just medium. And it's truly a great way to approach life. And yeah, I can't say any more about this book. If you enjoy this review, if you enjoy this breakdown, I just made a school community. Go ahead, check that out. The price is really low right now, so get in before it goes up, because you're gonna be locked at whatever price you get. And I'm starting to do book reviews. I have all my courses in there. I'm trying to just build it out, and once it's built out, like I said, price is going up. But yeah, stay tuned for more. Stay tuned for more for the channel. Thank you all so much for the growth of this channel. It's really been crazy to me. It's really been insane, and I can't thank each and every one of you enough. I love all of you guys. Peace out.